Since when did pickup trucks become so expensive? The price of new trucks these days is outrageous. So as an old-timer friend of mine likes to say, it's cheaper to keep her when it comes to that old pickup truck. So the question is, how do you keep that old pickup truck running longer? Shell Rotella claims that their motor oil will do just that for a gasoline pickup truck. Today we're going to test it against Mobil 1 and see which brand is the best. In the first test, we'll see which oil is best at resisting thermal breakdown and evaporation. We'll also test both brands of oil to see which offers the best cold as well as warm film strength. We'll see which brand flows the best when the oil is extremely cold. I had both the oils tested by an independent oil lab, and we'll compare each brand for anti-wear additives as well as detergents and dispersants. Before the oil testing begins, I'll package and ship the new oil samples to an independent oil testing lab that can provide us with a lot of great information on each oil's anti-wear additive package, detergent and dispersant content, as well as the oil's total base number or the ability of the oil to resist becoming acidic over time. I always shake oil containers before sending off samples for testing, since part of the additive package in the oil may actually fall out of suspension and settle on the bottom of the container. We'll go over the oil testing lab results near the end of the video. Both the Mobil 1 as well as the Shell are SAE 5W30 motor oils. Mobil 1 claims to keep your engine running like new. Both the Mobil 1 as well as the Shell Rotella are full synthetic motor oil. Dexos approved Generation 2. They rate their own oil as 2 out of 3 stars in 4 different areas. Prevent breakdown and extend engine life. Protect against wear. Combat sludge and deposits. Protect in high temperature. If you have a newer engine with direct injection, especially turbocharged, this SN Plus designation is pretty important. It helps prevent low speed pre-ignition in those types of engines. Meets or exceeds the requirements of ILSAC GF5, API SN Plus, SN, SM, and SL. Shell Rotella Gas Truck, extreme protection for hauling and towing. Full synthetic, all mileage. Approved for use in Ford, GM, Ram, Toyota gas-powered trucks and SUVs. Dexos 1 Generation 2 approved. Shell Rotella, the #1 brand in heavy-duty diesel engine oil, now offers a full synthetic motor oil for gasoline-powered trucks and SUVs, formulated to provide excellent protection against rugged terrain and extreme temperatures. Provides excellent protection for new and high-mileage gas truck and SUV engines. Helps prevent sludge and other damaging deposits. Provides extreme protection for hauling and towing. So if you don't have a pickup truck and you're interested in using this motor oil in your car, can you do it? Absolutely. Suitable for use in all gasoline engine vehicles requiring the use of SAE 5W30 viscosity grade engine oil. Meets or exceeds the requirements of ILSAC GF5, API SN Plus, API SN in all previous categories. Shell claims their oil does a great job withstanding heat, while Mobil 1 gives itself only 2 out of 3 stars. So is Shell actually better at withstanding heat, or is this nothing more than a different marketing strategy by both brands? We'll find out in the first test. We'll first measure out 200 grams of oil into each of the oil containers, then crank up the heat to 420 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours. I'll rotate the oil containers every 10 minutes just in case one burner is slightly hotter than the other. I'll also monitor the temperatures of both oils throughout the test just to make sure that they're very close to the same. Both oils will experience an equal amount of time on each burner. So why this test? The NOAC volatility test is an American Society for Testing and Materials test, which exposes oil to a lot more heat than this test to simulate engine operating conditions around the upper piston ring area of an engine. High quality oils resist evaporation and thermal breakdown. At the end of this test, we'll take a look at how much evaporation occurred with each brand. Then we'll be using the cooked oil for 3 additional tests to see which oil is the best. Both oils appear to be doing very good on this test, as the amount of vapors coming from each container seems to be less than usual for 5W30 motor oil. However, throughout the test, it appears that Mobil 1 was evaporating slightly faster than Shell, but there's only one way to know for sure. It's been right at 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and remove the oil from the burners and allow the oil to cool off. Once it's cooled down, we'll weigh each container to see how much evaporative loss occurred. Mobil 1 started off at 411.17 and it now weighs 403.75. That's a loss of 7.42 grams. Shell started off at 430.19. It now weighs 425.05. That's a loss of 5.14 grams. So Shell wins this showdown by experiencing 2 grams less evaporative loss compared to Mobil 1. We'll definitely want to compare cold oil flow performance of both the new and the cooked oils for each brand, and we'll do that near the end of this video. To ensure accurate test results, we'll go ahead and place the oil in a freezer that's set to 40 below 0 Fahrenheit until tomorrow, when we test the cold oil flow for both brands. In the next test, we'll be comparing the lubricity or the film strength of each brand. We'll be using the oil that we just exposed to the heat for the next test. We'll be comparing the lubricity or the film strength of each brand. We'll begin by adding 40 milliliters of oil into the test cups. The test will last right at 10 minutes. The oil that we'll be using has cooled off for this first test, and it'll provide us some great information on how the oil performs when it's cool. After the test, we'll compare the size of the wear scars on each of the bearings to determine which oil provides the best film strength. While this test doesn't simulate engine operating conditions perfectly, it'll provide us with some great information.
While both oils did a very good job of the lubricity test, the victory definitely goes to Shell on the left. Shell did a much better job than Mobil 1, which is on the right.
Now that we've tested the oil when it's cool, let's heat up the oil to 225 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty close to engine operating temperature, and then test the oil again. This will definitely have some impact on the performance of both oils. So will Shell perform better than Mobil 1 once again, but this time at operating temperature? You'll notice that the viscosity of the oil is much lower compared to testing the oils when they were cool.
When the going gets hot, both oils perform very well. This is the Shell that was tested right after heated up, and this is Mobil 1. Shell definitely has a smaller wear scar compared to Mobil 1. Now this is the first round that we did in which both oils were cool. This is the Shell, this is the Mobil 1. Shell wins when it's both cool as well as when it's at operating temperature.
When it comes to selecting a high-quality motor oil, cold flow performance is a huge factor since a lot of engine wear occurs at startup. An oil that flows easily when it's cold will begin lubricating moving parts of an engine sooner than an oil that doesn't flow very well. Let's kick off the cold flow oil test to see how each oil flows when it's very cold. New Shell is in lane 1, cooked Shell is in lane 2, cooked Mobil 1 in lane 3, and new Mobil 1 in lane 4. And Team Shell in lanes 1 and 2 is out of the gate very quickly and first to hit the track. Mobil 1 is also very quick and is in a very close second. This could be the tightest race we've ever had, as both oil teams seem unfazed by the cold temperature. Shell claims to provide unsurpassed protection, and it appears that their reputation is on the line as Mobil 1 is trying to take away the lead. Both teams are moving fast, with Shell in the lead by less than an inch. Team Shell has increased its lead by a little, but Mobil 1 hasn't given up. And it's Team Shell crossing the finish line first, finishing the race about an inch and a half ahead of Mobil 1.
And the oil analysis results on the Mobil 1 as well as the Shell are back, with Mobil 1 on the right and Shell on the left. The Shell doesn't have any aluminum, chromium, iron, copper, lead, or tin in it. Now these are considered impurities. And the Mobil 1 has trace levels of aluminum, iron, as well as lead. If you're finding aluminum, chromium, iron, copper, or lead in your motor oil, that's a good indication of wear. Just because there's a little bit of aluminum, iron, and lead in this Mobil 1 doesn't mean that there's a problem. It just means that Shell seems to be doing a little bit better job of providing a more pure motor oil. Poly is also a very common anti-wear additive, and Shell has 144 parts per million, about twice as much as the Mobil 1. Potassium is a detergent dispersant, and both oils have pretty much the same amount at 81 parts per million compared to 88 for the Mobil 1. Calcium is a detergent dispersant as well. Shell has a higher level of calcium compared to the Mobil 1. Shell has 1,171 parts per million compared to just 903 for the Mobil 1. Magnesium is also detergent dispersant, and Shell has a little bit less than that at 445 parts per million compared to 618 for the Mobil 1. So the detergent dispersant package seems fairly even compared to the Shell and the Mobil 1. Phosphorus and zinc are both anti-wear additives. With regard to phosphorus, The Mobil 1 does have a little bit more, 626 parts per million compared to 603 for the Shell. There's quite a bit more zinc in the Shell at 743 parts per million compared to 687 for the Mobil 1. Shell has a slightly higher viscosity than Mobil 1 at 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Shell also has a slightly higher flash point at 440 degrees Fahrenheit compared to 425 for the Mobil 1. The total base number, which is an oil's ability to resist becoming acidic, is slightly higher for the Mobil 1 at 8.1 compared to the Shell for 7.1.
While Mobil 1's a very good oil, in my opinion, the Shell oil is even better. As we saw in the lab testing results, it's a very pure oil. It's also slightly better with regard to flash point. Local performance in the testing that was done shows that Shell did better. So overall, would I use Shell motor oil? Absolutely. Mobil 1 is a good motor oil, but in my opinion, Shell Gas Truck is slightly better. All my video ideas, including this one, come from viewers. So if you have a video idea with regard to a motor oil brand or any other thing that you can think of, please leave a comment. I read and reply to as many comments as possible. Thanks so much for watching the video. Please take care, and I look forward to next time.